Hello, welcome to KegThat's YouTube channel, and we're going to do something a bit different today. We're doing a sort of podcast or video podcast, so you can either sit and watch our beautiful faces, or you can have this on in the background as you brew, or if you do the ironing or washing up or something. And yeah, today we're going to talk about IPAs, probably the most popular type of beer that there is at the moment. And we've got a few with us as well that we're going to be drinking as we try it, and we're going to talk about them as we drink them. And we're starting off with the kernel. But before we get into that, let's introduce ourselves. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ben. I'm sure you've heard of me, and yeah, so basically I'm one of the directors of KegThat, and so this is me. I look after all the online sort of things, and that's me. Yeah. And over what you, Josh?
Yeah, so I guess you guys know me. I'm Josh. You probably see me from the other videos. So let's start with this. So we've got Kernel Pale Ale, and it's actually one of my favorite sort of pale ales, IPAs kind of beers. I think Kernel make these really, really well, and they're also quite readily available. So, I mean, they're based in London, so I think if you're down here, they're very readily available. What in Manchester, is it easy to get them?
Well, I haven't. I've never bought from this place before. I'm following your advice here, Josh, but we're going to soon find out. They were very good with the delivery, so we'll soon find out. It's a first for me.
Well, let's open it, see what it's like.
Yeah, I'm going to open mine with some car keys, and not as advanced as you, Josh. There we go.
So it's
let's do that on the. So yeah, look, mine's getting a little bit less head on. Oh wait, no, maybe not. I'll better turn off the blurring effect, or is that okay? Oh no, it's all good. There we go, looking good.
So yeah, it's as you see, it's got a bit of haze to it. Not a great deal, but it's still quite clear. It's kind of straw color. What sort of aromas are you getting from that?
Ooh, what do you think, Josh? What are you getting from that?
So I'm getting kind of quite a bit of like stone fruit and passion fruit.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. I think I'm getting that. Definitely quite fruity. Yeah, lovely. I really like that. That's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got kind of like a citrus flavor. It's got quite a strong bitterness to it. Yeah, quite citrusy, and just overall quite pleasant, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice. Goes down quite well, doesn't it? Quite smooth as well. Yeah, for sure. I get. Go on, Josh. No. You go crazy.
Oh, I just wanted to say as well that we've got no affiliation with this brewery. They've not asked us to advertise their beer in any way. They have no idea we're even drinking their beer. So this is all what we say here is all like an honest review of the beer and like honestly what we think. And they're a really good brewery. And I once had one of their beers. It was like a barrel aged beer, and it had some yeast at the bottom, so it was bottle conditioned. And I wanted to culture the yeast up. So I wrote to the brewery to ask what the yeast was, and I got a very, very nice reply from the brewer with more information about the yeast. And they're really good, and they're really they seem very enthusiastic about the homebrew community as well, which is really nice to see in a brewery.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, what sort of what do you think is what do they get out of bottle conditioning the beers as opposed to what do you think the benefits are of that really for the breweries?
I guess it's easier for them to do in a way.
Yeah.
So it's what's really cool is that I've been following this brewery as well for like a very long time. As I say, they're sort of from my area. I saw them when they were quite small, and they've always felt like a large home brewery as opposed to a commercial brewery. And I think like part of the bottle conditioning gives it that feel. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
unlike some of the home brews that I've made and that other people have given me, they haven't exploded when I've opened them or something. So it doesn't have that bit in it. But yeah, I guess it's just a bit easier. And it also means that like the when you bottle condition a beer, it changes over time and you get different characteristics out of it. For hoppy beers, that may not be the best thing actually, because the hop character is like the first thing to fade. So it's actually better to sort of keg the beer and like force carbonate it and try and keep it fresh for as long as possible and like drink fresh.
yeah. Well, I mean, this isn't too hoppy, is it? It's more of a, it's not very intense, would you say? So it's probably suited for this style
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
so yeah, it's 4.8%, and it's, as I say, it's a pale ale as opposed to an IPA. And I guess like what you just said there is kind of the difference between an IPA and a pale ale. And of course, I guess this comes down to opinion, as opposed to what the crossover point is. I know like the BJCP, they've got different guidelines, but they are guidelines after all. They're not like these thick and fast rules. But generally speaking, the difference between like pale ales and IPAs is that pale ales are lower ABV and usually a bit less intense flavor. So perhaps less hops used. And yeah, they're just a bit less intense. Like they use
Less hoppy as well, would you say?
yeah, like it doesn't have such a punch that maybe some IPAs have, but hops are still the main focus of this.
Yeah.
It's still got quite a good bitterness to it, but it's easy drinking. It's like a lawnmower beer.
Yeah, and I mean, when they back in the day, when they IPAs were coming around, the hops were added to help the beer last longer. So if for the pale ales, they didn't need as many.
Sure. Yeah. Do you mean when they ship the
Yeah,
IPA?
because when the IPAs were shipped, weren't they? That was why they were called because that was how long it took for them to get over there, and the hops were added to help preserve the beer. Am I right, Josh?
Yeah. When they shipped the beers to India, I think it took a boat like 70 days or something in Victorian times. I'm sure someone will write in the comments if that's wrong. Uh,
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, I'm not sure if you guys could tell, but Josh is the real expert here. I'm just here to here to have a pint, really. Cheers.
um, but yeah, so yeah, but you're right. That's where IPAs came from. India pale ales. They would add more hops to the beer in the cask so that they could survive or better survive the long journey to India. What's quite sad though for the troops in India is that the beer often got watered down to be served to them, so they got the same sort of thing. And yeah, and here we would have had pale ales, which would have been similar beers, but yeah, as you say, they wouldn't have needed so many hops in them. One of the reasons why I chose Colonel as well is because they, with every pale ale they make and with every IPA that they make as well, they use different hops. So they keep the grain bill the same, and I think they keep the IBU the same. So IBU is International Bittering Units, and it's basically a measurement of how bitter the beer is going to be. They keep that number the same. They keep the grain bill the same. But yeah, they use a different hop, and they try different hops with each batch that they do. With this one, it's HBC 638, which, if I'm honest, I've never heard of
I've
before. It
never heard
sounds
of that one. I didn't even know that was a hop. Looking at the label.
yeah, that's the thing. Like it's in the place that they normally write the
Yeah.
hop name, so I assume it is. Let's see if they've got anything about it. No, not on this one.
Does that tend to change? Do they normally stick within a similar style of hop, or do they really go crazy and mix it up completely? Or
Yeah, they go crazy. Like I've seen, they've had like back in the day they would have Chinook a fair amount, and I've seen Citra, but they've also had like Jester, some of the like the newer English hops. And yeah, it's a good way to try different hops and see what's yeah, see what you like the flavor of. And the reason why I chose that is because this is a really good thing to be doing in home brewing as well, to get a grain bill that you like. And like, if you're a brewer who is really into the hop side of brewing, and your favorite beers to make and drink are pale ales and IPAs, this is a really good thing to be doing. It's to find a grain bill you like. So for an IPA, it could have mostly like a base of something like Maris Otter, with perhaps some carapils for some body, or some cara malt to give it a bit of body and color, and a bit of sweetness. And then add hops. Add like single hops as you go.
Yeah.
With each time you make that. I think
Is it always a single hop that they do with this beer, do you know, Josh? Or
it usually is. I think most of the time it is, but I get the feeling I have seen multiple hops, as I think the brewers making it must want to put in like some different hops to have a bit more excitement brewing a different beer each time or something. But
no. Wow, that's really cool. I mean, the fact that it lets you see the difference the hops make. I mean, I guess for the yeast use, I guess a lot of the. Do you know what sort of yeast they would use with this one?
I've heard different things. So I've heard it's a house yeast, but I have also heard that house yeast might just be US-05 or something like that. But I mean, it tastes very clean to me, so I'm guessing it is like a West Coast yeast. There's
nothing crazy coming from it like some of the beers, which is you get the characteristics from the yeast.
It doesn't really have that. Do you brew IPAs actually?
Yeah, to be honest, I pretty much only brew IPAs at the moment. That's definitely I'm doing a lot of smash, so single malt and single hop brews at the moment. Right now I've got a single hop mosaic, which it's a little bit too, not enough bittering hops in that one, and I've done a cascade on at the moment as well. So they're both very nice beers. But what about you, Josh? What sort of styles are you brewing? Are you brewing IPAs at the moment?
Before we get on to that, I'm just interested. Are they both drinkable? Like those IPAs, and like, can you tell the difference between the hops? Or
oh yeah, definitely. They are. I mean, for me, I don't like a beer that's too bitter. So I was playing around, and I think I've gone a little bit too crazy, taking out too many of the bitter and hops on the mosaic I did. But it's still a lovely pint and really, really nice and pleasant. So yeah, and you can really tell that's mosaic, that's cascade, and that's what I'm trying to do myself to get a bit better at recognizing some of the all the different hops. Really, I think that's the best way really to really know. Okay, that's that.
Yeah, and the smash is also like a really good way making pale ales, because you get to also see how individual base malts contribute as well, and how they play off with the individual hops. So you could try Maris Otter, you could try like a Pilsner malt, but you could also do like 100% Vienna and see how that can like really shape an IPA, especially with something like Cascade. Sorry, that's what I'm going for. Like Cascade is actually one of my favorite hops, and we're going to talk about it a bit more.
But I totally agree. I think I'm with you on that one, Josh. The last brew I did as well, I piled it full of that Cascade. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite hops.
Like what I like to do is, because when I started brewing, so I've been brewing for coming up to 9 years now. And when I started off, the craft beer scene was also sort of getting big in London, and so I was getting really into IPAs. So I was making loads of IPAs, and I think I burnt myself out for those first few years making like straight up IPAs. And so I don't do it as much now, but I still really enjoy hops, and I still really enjoy finding ways of putting hop flavors into other beer styles. So one of the videos that I did, of course, the summer ale, like that is basically
I love that. beer. I've brewed that 3 times now. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's so I guess that's almost like my go-to for trying a new hop, of like a single hop, and I want to put it into something as well, like quite interesting, like a bit more towards something which is a bit more to, I guess, more to my flavor profile that I like at the moment, I guess, is a way of saying it. So yeah, like I'll put it in that. And I think that Calypso, which is one of my favorite hops that we've got on the site, and that I put into
Yeah,
that
yeah.
beer, I think that's like a really nice way of serving it, because I think also something with single hop beers as well is that not all hops can be single hop.
No, they got to have some of them when they use as an aroma hop or a bittering hop. They can give a very harsh bitterness, can't they? That's like off, you know.
Yeah, and they can also I also find that quite a lot of hops just don't have the complexity to like be the centerpiece for a beer.
Yeah,
And I think some of the old world hops, like I'm not like shitting on them or anything. These are all very good hops, but things like Fuggles,
yeah. Fuggles, what are Goldings? Maybe you can.
yeah, like I think it's Styrian Goldings,
Yeah,
and like some of the like the German varieties, they're all lovely hops, but they're not really single hop material. Like I've got a Fuggles plant and I love it, and I use it a lot, but it's usually in something like a
bittering.
stout, and it's more
Oh,
of
yeah.
a supporting role, I suppose, as opposed to like the main thing. And I think that like they work well if there's other flavors going on there, and they bring dimension to the beer.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that sounds good. It's not really something I've played a lot around with recently at the moment, like that. Those sort of hops. Yeah, I haven't really done anything with them. Probably should.
I think there's a lot of experimentation that can be done with the older varieties. I mean, they tend to be cheaper, right? Like the sort of English.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, Fuggles and that's those sort of hops. They're definitely a lot cheaper than the likes of all these new ones. Not new ones particularly, but the ones that Cascade, Calypso, Sabro. They're a lot more expensive. I think
Sure.
last year especially like Sabro, we were really into, and we couldn't get a hold of it, so we ended up getting some straight from Estonia because we had a good deal and we really wanted it in. So yeah, I think I bought a bit too much of it, to be honest.
Cool. But yeah, I do find like some good single hops for people who want to try their hand at their first smash, or their first like, I want to focus on this hop. I think a really good one to start with is Cascade. Citra is another one. Again, we're going to talk about these two hops in a bit later. That's also like a very complex hop as well. I've made some really nice single hop. Simcoe, that's one. Yeah, so I've made some really
Oh,
nice.
Simcoe. Yeah, no, have you done a smash of Simcoe?
Yeah. I don't think it was a smash necessarily, but like Simcoe was the main hop, and it's the only hop, and it was really, really good. It tasted like mango juice. I need to find that recipe, do it again now, actually.
Oh wow, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I think I've used it in a few recipes, but not made it the center of attention, which probably should.
Yeah. So I think that like with some hops which maybe lack the dimension to be a single hop, it does really help to brew these other styles as well, like white IPAs, or like a hoppy saison or something like that. So there are extra flavors coming in which give dimension where the hop doesn't necessarily have it. And that's the thing. Like I love Calypso, as I was saying. It's like, again, another one of my favorite hops. But I think that to have a single hop Calypso, I think you need to use a lot of it to get like a really punchy flavor, or it
Yeah.
works really well in something like a saison, or like our
What's
summer ale,
a
the white IPA.
what's How would you describe a saison then, Josh?
So a saison historically comes from the French-speaking part of Belgium, and it was a beer that was made. I think it was made in summer to basically feed or pay the workers on farms. And the flavors all come from the yeast pretty much. So it's a very expressive yeast. It's got a lot of like herb, nutmeg, and like spice flavors. And it usually has, again, like old world hops going in there. The quintessential style is Saison DuPont, which is very nice. But if you want like the quintessential Saison, that's the one to get. It's quite readily available in the UK. Probably order it online.
Yeah, we've got a the Mangrove Jack's Belgian Saison as well, yeast. So that one we've got in terms of the yeast.
I'm trying to
I
think.
thought, were you talking about beer or hops? I mean, your yeast.
Well, to bring it back to hops, so it's usually a very dry style of beer, and there's usually quite a lot of areas where that can go. Like a traditional saison is nice, but if you start adding some like new world hops, some American hops, it really does go well with that style. And there's like a lot of space in that flavor profile to play around with these flavors. If you want to make an IPA and you want to do something a bit more exciting, you can try and ferment it with saison yeast, like the Mangrove Jack ones. That will.
Do they all have a similar? Oh, sorry, Josh. Carry on. Sorry,
oh no, I was pretty much finished.
I was going to say, like, do all the saisons have a similar characteristics to them because of the yeast used? Then, if that is it all about the different saison yeast, the specific saison yeast used? Is that what really differentiates them?
Yeah, pretty much. Like you get different yeast. Like of course there's the Mangrove Jack ones, and then of course there's Bell Saison, which is a very popular one. Then of course you get various liquid yeasts, which have their different takes on saisons, or usually the liquid yeasts are isolated from some like classic brewery from that region.
Yeah. We'll be getting it. We were looking to get in some of the, the white labs in the near future as well. So watch the space for that one. Yeah.
And yeah, and like what the difference is that sometimes with those yeasts though, they can be like you can get the farmhouse yeast, which actually I was making the video today where I use farmhouse yeast, and so there's a couple of videos on that yeast coming up as well, or they may have already been published by the time this goes out, so go check them out if they have.
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be good to actually make a schedule for these videos sometime. But yeah, like they can have other flavors with them. So like this farmhouse yeast that I'm using, it adds a tartness to the beer. Some yeasts are actually blends, and they have Brettanomyces, so they have like sort of wild beer flavors as well. So yeah, that was so yeah, the Colonel, that was a lovely beer. It
very nice.
Yeah, I could like drink that all day, but unfortunately we've got other beers to move on to, and our next one is
we are on the same beer. I was had a bit of a panic then. Just I have to go get mine from the freezer because I forgot to get them cold, ready for the podcast.
Sure. So yeah, this is Alpha Delta Apollo. It's a Citra IPA. I've actually never heard of this brewery before, or this beer, but you know what? It looked nice. Again,
yeah, definitely.
No affiliation to the brewery or the beer, and so whatever I say or whatever we say is just an honest description of it.
Yeah, are we pouring?
Yeah, we're pouring.
It's got a lovely colour to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I can smell that from here, and it smells delicious. I mean, that is thick. That's all juicy.
Oh yeah, that's really definitely a really juicy smell to that one, isn't there? Yeah, I love that. It smells lovely. Yeah. Oh, that's really, that's lovely.
Yeah, that's
the taste
like,
of it. Yeah.
It's like really kind of orangey and like soft citrusy.
Yeah, I'm trying to I'm not very good at.
It's like
definitely. Yeah.
It's like juicy fruits comes to mind.
Juicy fruits. Yeah. Yeah, it's like maybe a bit of pineapple you get in there. maybe.
Yeah, definitely getting pineapple. It's got like a very like it tastes like the mouthfeel is how it looks like, kind of like what's the
Like
word?
but yeah, like it's very, I don't know. Yeah, very juicy.
Juice. Yeah.
Fruit juice.
Yeah, like it's a very nice beer.
It is a
And
nice beer.
it's also got kind of like a slight like woody, earthy flavor as well, which is probably from using. And this is the thing, like Citra is a very, very good and very complex hop. It has those like citrus flavors, but it also it's got some like woody and earthy tones to it as well. And use it in enough quantity, which is what they've done, which is probably contributes to some of this haze.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start to get the like full range of complexity from that hop.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Wow. Do you think it could do with a bit more head? I think, Josh.
Yeah, it doesn't have a very good head retention. It's completely. I think on the camera it looks like it's got something, but that's just more of like thin lacing on the glass, I guess.
Yeah, I should turn my blurring off. I just didn't want you to see the pile of paper I've got in the background.
That's okay.
Yeah.
People can see the chaos that is my room behind me.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll feel better now, Josh.
Yeah. But what's quite interesting about this, and the reason why I picked this is because when I started brewing like 8 years ago, and not to sound too much like, old man Josh, like, oh, back in my day we did things like this, but like when I did start brewing, there wasn't really such like there was a wide selection of hops, but it wasn't as wide as it is now. And the most popular hop back then probably was Cascade. And for good reason. Like Cascade is a hop that covers virtually all the flavor profiles that a hop can cover. It's like citrus, it's fruity, it's got earthy notes in there, and it's very complex. And the popular thing for breweries to do was to make like a 3Cs beer, so like Cascade, Columbus, Centennial, that sort of thing. Like then after not that long, Citra started to turn up, and I don't know if it was there and I just wasn't aware of it, or it became more popular. I think was it Oakham Citra was like one of the first. Like Oakham was one of the first UK breweries to use Citra as a single hop beer, and it's like a hand pull, like English IPA style, but with an American hop, like cask ale. And for the time, that was very nice.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, like Citra is just a very, very popular beer. So like Citra has become the new Cascade. That's at least what I think as well, where a lot of these breweries where normally I think Cascade would have been used, it's now Citra. Like Citra has become the workhorse of the hop forward brewery, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, Josh. What I mean, one thing that IPAs have over pale ales is they're normally a bit more ABV in them as well. They're a bit stronger, aren't they? I was like, what do you think? Do you think there's a current like a reason? What's the reason why? Is there a reason why more hoppy beers benefit from a higher ABV, or do you think they're unrelated?
So I was wondering this, and so so this is an IPA that we're drinking now, and for those at home, it is 6%, and it definitely has more of a flavor punch to it. But to go back to your question, it's interesting because like I thought about this, and I think that when you start to add more hops, you need to balance that out with something. So to give it more malt, put more malt in there, it balances those hops out with like more body and more of a malty flavor.
More alcohol.
Yeah, more alcohol.
Yeah.
So
yeah, okay, that makes.
I think that's one reason. Like going back to the IPA story, if the beer had more alcohol in it, I think it's more likely to last the long journey as well. This alcohol is, of course, a preservative, but I'm wondering as well, would the difference between like 5 and 6% or 5 and 7% or whatever the difference was, would that actually have made a difference, or was it more malty to actually just balance the hops or something? Like,
Yeah, I think surely, like, well, like you say, back in the day, they didn't have any sanitizer like we have, so everything helped. Like the hops, hops are naturally antibacterial, so they have those properties, and that's why they first added hops to beer in the first place, isn't it, Josh? Am I right? That's what I thought.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons. Of course, that like the hops had their own flavors which people enjoyed, and yeah, the antimicrobial effect of hops was also very much enjoyed, so it kept the shelf life of it for longer. Also, what's quite interesting, so unhopped beers, which are now, like these days, we call them brew tales, which is a beer without hops, basically. So hops have been in brewing for, I think, 800 years, which, when you consider that beer is older than civilization itself, so like 8,000 years or whatever, 800 years and 8,000 years isn't that long time.
Yeah.
For some of that time, or for a lot of that time, beers were used as a way of prescribing medicine, a way of getting nutrients. And some of the herbs used to flavor beers were actually an aphrodisiac. So it turned people on, basically, and then people wanted to go off and have sex. And then the church didn't like that. And the thing with hops is that they're a sexual suppressant, so the opposite of aphrodisiac. And the church would much rather that people weren't going off and enjoying themselves by having sex. So in some places in Europe, the church made it illegal to use anything but hops in beer.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that, Josh. See,
Yeah.
I've learned something as well. I've probably learned a lot of things.
I know. I got that like really fun nugget of information going on a brewery tour in Belgium at this brewery called Groot, and they made Groot beers. I think only one of their beers used some hops. It was a really nice brewery, but unfortunately it closed down quite a few years ago. But I'm still left with that really fun nugget.
Cool stuff. Nice.
But yeah, like it's quite interesting though. Going back to, sorry, we digress a bit, but going back to like I guess like Citra is basically like more punchy and like more in your face than something like Cascade. Like Cascade is nice, but Citra really gets in there, you know.
I think it's just become that hop that, the most well-known, hop. It's one of the best. It's one of the best sellers. It's everyone. It's just, the center of so many beers. They put it all over the branding as well. Citra, you see it on so many beers.
Yeah. It has become like, you see, like the most popular beer. It's quite interesting that, like, I still like, for me personally, I like Citra. It's nice. It's interesting though. It's become like so popular because, I don't know. Call me old fashioned. I do like Cascade, and there's also like Simcoe, as I was saying before, which is really nice. Which, to be fair, there are quite a few Simcoe single hop beers. There should be more, in my opinion. But hey, this is the joy of home brewing. If we want a beer, we can make it.
Exactly. We can, for sure.
Oh, and today as well, like one of the videos that I was doing was a single hop beer. So not to give any spoilers, but
Oh, go on. I don't even know this one, Josh. Let's have a little spoiler.
Sure. So keep an eye out. So I harvested my last hop plant today, and it's a fresh hop beer. And it's a Sriracha Ace plant, and Sriracha Ace is a really, really unique hop, and I think the hops that I like are the more left field ones, which are like have these different flavors in it. And so Sriracha Ace, if you're listening to this and you never had it before, like do go and get it. It's a really really good hop, because it's like bubblegum, dill, and lemon flavors. Those like the main flavors from it. So it's quite unique. And I'm growing this plant in it's from Japan originally. My Sriracha Ace, it's its 3rd year, and it really took off this year. So first 2 years didn't really get anything from it. This year there is too much. I didn't even harvest them all today, by making a fresh hop beer with them, and that's what this video is going to be about.
Well, we've got way too many Sriracha Ace in our freezer over there. So maybe we'll have to come up with a recipe for these guys, Josh. Because I think we'll be doing we need to do a big sale on it, because we've got too much of it. No one seems to order it. So
definitely.
But that's because they don't know what to brew it with.
Yeah, definitely. So Sriracha Ace, it works well by itself. You can do like a Sriracha Ace Pale Ale, or IPA, which actually is an IPA I still make. You can also do, like, it goes really well as a in a saison, actually. And like the beer that I made today, so there was a bit of a mix up with the yeasts, so I ended up using a farmhouse yeast. So I basically made a Sriracha Ace saison today in my video, but you'll have to watch the video to find out more.
Wow, okay, cool. Or if it's already out, like we said before, it could already be out.
Yeah.
Who knows? We don't know. There you go.
Yeah, one day we'll actually come up with a schedule, but today's not that day.
Definitely not.
Yeah. But yeah, Sriracha Ace, it's a really nice hop. It's really unique. It goes quite well. It can give like a Pilsner, like a slightly different edge, because it has some of that like old world flavor to it, but it's also got some like if you compare it to something like Saz, it has that lemon flavor. It's got dill, which can kind of be confused for earthy, I suppose, but it's got that bubblegum flavor. And like I've had Sriracha Ace Pilsner before, and it's like kind of like a new take on a Pilsner. Yeah, it goes well in a wheat beer. It goes well in everything. It goes well in a stout, a best bitter. I love it. It's like my favorite hop. I might buy some from you, actually, now that I've talked myself into it. I know I've got a plant in my garden with too many flowers on it at the moment, but yeah.
No, yeah. Wow, I've never brewed anything with it, but maybe I need to have a go as well. Yeah, sounds.
So this beer, it's nice. I'm just thinking, like, it doesn't go down as easy as the last one. I mean, it is like,
it's a 6% after all. You know, it's going to be a little bit more heavy.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the thing, like with NEPAs, because they use such like so just to give like a brief history of like how they were made. Originally, NEPAs were like, they got their haze because they were drawn off the tanks at, I can't remember the name of the brewery, but there was a brewery in like somewhere in New England in America, hence New England IPA, where they were drawn off slightly early and then served direct to customers from the tank.
Ooh,
so they had this haze, which would have been like the yeast still in flocculation. But then over time, like, I don't know I don't know what the jump was here, and like hopefully someone can comment and fill everyone else in. The haze came from hops. So hops were added at like the start of fermentation, and then during fermentation, and then more after fermentation. So you had these like loads of hop charges. So it became this like really, really hoppy beer. What happened was that these hops added a haze to the beer, and so the haze came from hops. And not long after that, people saw these beers with a haze. They looked kind of thick and juicy, but they weren't. And so like the look didn't match the mouthfeel, I guess. And so to make it a nice thick and juicy beer, brewers would add more adjunct malts like I'm not really sure wheat can be called an adjunct malt, but like wheat and like oats and things like that, which they all, because they're so high in protein, they give the beer more mouthfeel, but it also gives the beer more haze. And something that I've done as well, like when I brewed a NEPA, I don't add Protafloc, so there's more natural haze to the beer that way as well, and so you get something which looks like that.
I guess you could do an overnight chill as well to really the Aussie method.
Oh, the was it no chill cube?
The no chill.
Yeah.
Give it that extra haze. Yeah, cool, nice.
Cool. So yeah, that last beer, I think that's a really nice beer to like sit and like enjoy.
Take your time on.
Yeah. It's I wouldn't call it a session beer. It's
no.
You sort of have to like take your time over it and enjoy it. But it was a very, very nice beer anyway. But we're going to move on to our third beer now, which is Crush Session NEPA.
I love a session beer. I always go for, I always sort of go for, something a bit lower personally. That's my preferred, I must say.
Sort of lower do you mean like lower than 4.6?
Yeah, 5%, 4.5% ish is my sort of, I'd go for that really.
That's probably a wise choice. Like I think for me, I still think that like 5% is a session beer, and then like I just get drunker quicker than I want to. Sometimes that's not a bad thing. But yeah,
cool.
Let's see what this one's like.
Wonder what colour do you think this is going to be, John? Oh, you've already started on yours. What do you think? Oh, I've got a bit of water.
It's going to be a pale straw colour. The interesting thing is like green or whatever.
It's looking nice. It's less hazy, isn't it? Or is it? Yeah.
This is an interesting thing. Again, that it's got quite a meaty head on that.
I messed up with mine as well.
It's I need to get some
Sorry, I was spilling over the edge.
It
smells lovely. That a lot of the aroma actually comes from the head. So it's with the last one, I feel like you need something there, don't you? Definitely. Like I was going to say before as well, like I need to get around to actually getting one of the fancy glasses from the website as well, which let me know, Josh. I'll send one your way, man. I've got the I haven't got one today, but we've got the Spigaloo style. I think I'm saying that right. It's like not a Spigaloo because that's like a trademark, I think, but we've got the ones we've got are like not a full pint, so you end up not drinking quite as much, which is good, unless you just go very back to the fridge more. But I really like them. They're designed with the extra ridges, aren't they?
They're good for IPAs because they like the ridges like sort of create nucleation, which creates more bubbles, which gives you more aroma and like.
Have you got a tulip glass at the moment? Oh no, I've got a tulip. This is a tulip one, which sort of traps the aromas in as well with the thinner at the top, aren't they? But yeah.
All my other glasses seem to be in the brewery, so I'm left with this like, pub glass. But this has got like a nice kind of citrusy aroma. It's a lot less.
Quite floral, would you say? Floral?
Getting a bit of like floral notes to it, like a bit woody. It's actually a bit less powerful than the Apollo Citra that we had last.
Yeah, definitely. That was, you could really smell that. It really smelled. It was very pleasant, quite a bit more subtle though.
Oh, just an interesting one. It's trying to think the right way to right words. It's got like a bit of a kind of like, it tastes a bit like cake.
Cake. I'm not very good at analysing beers, but
like berries on a cake kind of thing, and like a fruity
berries.
sponge.
I don't know about that.
It's very pleasant. So I'm just reading a bit more. So it's got
We've
like
got Simcoe, Citra, Mosaic, Equinaut, and Cascade. Nice.
All top quality hops.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we actually haven't got Equinaut in, but I need him in, Josh? What do you reckon? I've not brewed with Equinaut or tried him. What?
So the first time I made that summer ale, I made it with Equinaut, and it was really nice. So like I already like Equinaut. I'm like, me personally, I could live without it, but yeah, I'm not sure what other people think. Like if you guys like Equinaut, please comment below, and yeah,
We'll
let
get
us
it
know
in.
like how you like to use it. Yeah, we'll get it in.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's got like barley, wheat, oat, and oats in it in the grain bill. I'm just thinking, like, yeah, but like, what's quite interesting with this is that this beer calls itself a NEPA, so like a New England IPA. So you expect that haze, you expect that big juicy flavor to it. The last beer called itself an IPA. Yeah, I think the last beer was a lot more
NEPA-ish.
Yeah.
Would you say normally like a New England IPAs are generally, stronger, would you say, or not really?
Not necessarily. Like I've seen NEPAs from anywhere from like 4.5% through to like 7-8%.
But they're more juicy, and they've got is that what I'm where
Yeah.
they're more juicy. Whereas this is less intense, isn't it?
Yeah, like this is much more of like an easy drinking beer you can like sit and have a few of. It's like quite pleasant. It's got like, I think with like the more that I'm drinking it, the more like flavors are coming through, and I think like the mark of a good beer is this, like as you drink it, the flavors evolve over time and more things come through. Like I'm getting more of like a like it's getting a bit more woody, like more woody and berryish, and like
I'm definitely getting the berries. I definitely getting the berries. Yeah, that they're definitely coming through a bit, just in the background there, which yeah, it's nice. It's really nice, smooth, sessionable. I think this is probably my favorite out of the three. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I've enjoyed all three. I think my favorite has still been the Colonel, but I mean, I have a big soft spot for Colonel, so maybe this is just like bias or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think my dad was in the background and he's robbed that off me. I can't sit here and taste it. Compare, but yeah, no, for sure, it was a nice bit. Very nice. I love the way they do that hop thing. But anyway, back onto the crush.
So yeah, like I think that what I find quite interesting is that when NEPA started to hit the scene in a big time in the UK, it created this movement where all IPAs, whether it's like even like West Coast IPAs, they started to become more and more hazy and more juicy, and it became quite challenging to find like a nice crispy, fruity, clean IPA. And it's just very interesting how it's had this effect on the brewing industry.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like a lot of people that that I've been friends with have gone to a bar and sort of, I want something hazy. But does the actual haze have much? If you want to make the beer hazy, does that have much impact on the overall beer? Like intentionally giving it that haze? No, because a lot of them are, designed to.
Yeah, it's interesting because like for a long time people wanted like a clean, clear beer. Like you hold your beer up, the light shines through.
Look how clear that is, beautiful. But yeah, people now want something that's hazy.
Yeah, so I guess like brewers starting out, like home brewers starting out today, who might struggle with the clarity of the beer. I guess this is like a good thing for them to be like, oh yeah, it's the new in thing is the hazy beers. I mean, like which is great, and like go with it if that's a thing. But I mean, like I've never really care too much about the
No.
clarity of beer. It's in like when I drink it, I don't care, but because when I brew the beer, I'm like, I need to get it to style. Like I have cared so much about my own clarity when I brew, which is kind of weird, but I do quite like the reintroduction of haze into beer and how it's much more acceptable, because at the end of the day, I think that it doesn't matter too much what a beer should look like. It's all about flavor, of course. But I mean, having said that, of course, we do, the way something looks actually does affect how it tastes.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think obviously, you can't say it was. I mean, going for the style, if you got bits of yeast floating around in your beer, you'll fail the points for that one in a competition. But a bit of haze is fine. Yeah. And I sometimes I'll forget the Irish moss, and who cares? Or the protoflock, whatever you want to call it, all the same stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that's the thing. Like with homebrew, as long as it tastes nice, you've won. As long as you enjoy it, you're doing it right, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a scientist when it comes to my beers. I know a lot of you guys are, but sometimes I'll forget about the hydrometer. I'm not supposed to say that, but I just check it. I can't be bothered.
I was like, how strong is it? Like, I don't know, it gets me drunk in 3.
It gets me drunk. It's lovely. Yeah. I feel like I shouldn't be saying this to you guys. I'm trying to sell you hydrometers and pretend like I'm a pro, but it doesn't matter.
But yeah, what's quite interesting as well is that like so Skara, the Kvike yeast, has become my new house yeast, and it's been like my house yeast for quite a few months. So when I don't know, like when I'm making a beer and I'm like, what shall I ferment it with? I just go, I'll throw a teaspoon of Skara in it, like, into the brew, and ferment it with that. But Skara actually tends not to flocculate that well, and it's a very like clean and can even be quite crisp. And I'll actually recommend it for anyone who's looking for a house yeast, because it can, like, if you have the ability to ferment at like 30 degrees, it can ferment in a few days and it ferments clean. Like compared to the other Kvike yeasts, it's very clean. So you can use it to make things like pseudo lagers and West Coast IPAs. But it is hazy, and the last beer I made with it was a Pilsner actually, but it's got haze. It's probably hazier than this, slightly hazier than this, but people seem to really enjoy it. They think it's got that like rustic edge because it's not like this crisp, clean Pilsner, like factory made, like Holsten Pils or something. It looks like basically I live on a farms, and like I'm pulling off this like hazy beer, and people are like, oh, I'm having this nice farmhouse style beer in a farm. This is all great, and it's still like really clean, and it tastes like what they expect a lager to taste like, but actually slightly better because it's fresh from the source, and I use good ingredients as opposed to the mass-produced ones which use mostly rice. But hey, we can get onto that on the lager episode.
Oh wow. yeah, for sure. Wow. One episode we won't be able to do is sour, because I can't drink sour beers.
Sour? Oh.
I'm not sure we can do a podcast on them. I'll have to grit my teeth. I wouldn't be able to have much input.
You're not into the sour flavor, or like?
I don't know. I just drink one and think I don't understand how anyone can drink this.
I love sour. Like my top 3 styles of beers are sour, stout, and pilsner.
Wow. Well, we've still got a few in quite a few in at the moment. There's a limited. If any of you guys do a few kits here and there, because I know a lot of you do at the moment, they're very good. But there's a watermelon sour on the Taproom series, and a few, I wouldn't go near it, not liking sours, but a lot of people have really been impressed with it. So I recommend you check that out. I'll do a bit of a discount if you comment below, and I'll pop you a discount code.
Cool. Should we put a link in the description?
Sure, we'll put a link in the description as well. That's an even better idea, Josh. Cool.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess like wrapping this up.
Yeah.
It's been a good discussion. And I guess like for the home brewer, as I say, like experiment around, do smash beers, like find a grain bill that you like, and then use that grain bill and use different hops. Try different hops. If I would also say like research hops. Like I did a lot of research into every new hop that I've used. If you have the time and the patience to do that, like do, because then if you think that like, oh, this hop sounds nice, but I'm not sure if that can quite handle a single hop, you can then change the style slightly, use a saison yeast, use a wheat beer yeast, use our recipe for the summer ale, but instead of using Calypso, swap it out for the hop you want to use.
Yeah.
And like these are all like really good techniques for discovering new hops and like just trying new hops. And it really, like, one of the, other than just enjoying the wide variety of flavors that hops can offer, a really interesting thing happens, which is when you can start to pinpoint the flavors of single hops, you can go to a pub, try a beer and be like, wow, that is an amazing beer. Like, how do they make it? You can start to pinpoint the flavors, being like, oh, actually, I can taste Simcoe and I can taste like this, and I can, they've got something else, like, oh yeah, they padded it out with like Fuggles or Goldings for like added dimension, but breweries will do that because it's cheap or whatever, and like you can then go home and make that like tasty beer you had at the pub yourself.
After recipe. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm not at that level, Josh, I must admit. I mean, I'm at the stage where I can say I want it to be a bit more this aroma, want it to be a bit less, I can, but I'm not I'm not good at that yet. I'll get there.
Yeah. It's like a process, and the more you try and the more you train your palate, the more you can like do these things.
Yeah, sure. I mean, something I think it'd be interesting as well is to be able to the same hop, but actually start adding some of the specialty malts as well to really understand exactly what that does to the beer, because that's something I think I need a bit more. I need to, experiment with a little bit more as well.
Yeah, and that's like exactly. Yeah, if you know your hops, you can then figure out what the other ingredients are doing as well and how they play off with that hop. So yeah, like how using different as you say, using different malts, what that will bring to the party.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we've had a good discussion, Josh. What do we think? Are we going to wrap this up? What's the plan?
It's been a good discussion. We should do this again. Maybe we'll have a bit more of a plan and we can choose a different style, not sours.
Yeah, not sours. I think as well, I was going to get my dad involved in the discussion as well, so we could do a bit of a three-way combo as well. The more the merrier, and he's one of the other me and my dad, we started KegThat, and we're the 50-50 basically, so we're the two directors at the moment. But yeah, I think if we get him involved as well, it'll be a good laugh.
Yeah, get him involved, and that'll be good. And maybe one day we'll have guests on who like know more what they're talking about than us, and can like
more than me. Josh, you're the pro man.
I don't know, more than me as well, man. Like, yeah, but
I'm always mid brew day, and I'll always a lot of the time I'll send Josh a voice memo or call him on WhatsApp. Josh, this has happened. Help me out. What do I do? So it's good.
Well, yeah, like that's the thing with homebrewing as well. The important thing really is to have fun, and it doesn't matter if you follow certain rules people have laid out. It's just have fun, make some good beer. As long as you're enjoying it, you're winning.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Cool. Anyway, Thank you guys so much for like listening to our first podcast. Hopefully the first of many. If you've enjoyed this, if you have any comments about this, maybe we've said something which is factually incorrect and you want to correct us, and then yeah, do comment below, do like and subscribe, and yeah, like we wish you the best of luck with your IPA brewing. Yeah, check us out. We got like loads of hops, and we got quite a few IPA recipe packs as well to try out if you just want to like get something and brew it.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys have any sort of brewing questions, ping them our way on whatever platform, and we'll make sure we answer. And you know, if I don't know, I'll ping it over to you, Josh, and you'll.
Sure.
I do that sometimes. But yeah, if you've made it this far, especially, you know, thank you so much. But yeah, enjoy, guys, and thanks for watching.
Cheers. Yeah, thanks.